She survived thyroid cancer. She helped define a generation of punk and grunge. But now, L7 bassist Jennifer Finch is having eternal rest. In July 2026, fans learned Finch had been diagnosed with an aggressive brain cancer, forcing her to step away from L7's farewell tour after multiple surgeries left her needing round-the-clock care. From dating Dave Grohl and Billy Corgan, to photographing the Chili Peppers before they were famous, Jennifer Finch's story is wilder than most rock stars. Today, we're looking back at her incredible legacy. The announcement arrived with a sense of disbelief. Jennifer Finch had been recognized as someone who rarely backed away from a challenge. Whether standing on stage with a bass guitar slung over her shoulder or speaking honestly about the music scene she loved, she projected determination. Yet even someone known for resilience could not prepare supporters for the news that, on the 18th of July 2026, she had passed away at the age of 59 after an aggressive form of brain cancer. Only days earlier, many had still been hoping for encouraging updates. Instead, loved ones revealed that Jennifer's condition had changed with startling speed. Her diagnosis had become public on the 13th of July, 2026, shortly after serious physical limitations and the effects of multiple brain surgeries forced her to withdraw from L7's planned farewell tour. The concerts were meant to celebrate decades of music. Instead, they became a reminder that life can unexpectedly change direction, no matter how carefully the future has been planned. Those close to Jennifer understood that this was not the first serious health challenge she had encountered. In 2011, she had successfully undergone treatment for thyroid cancer. At the time, many believed that difficult chapter had closed for good. She returned to music, photography, and creative projects with the same energy that had always defined her career. That earlier experience may have strengthened her resolve, but it also demonstrated something deeper. Jennifer had never allowed hardship to become the center of her identity. She preferred creating, collaborating, and encouraging others rather than dwelling on personal setbacks. Friends often described her as someone who continued looking forward, even after facing circumstances that might have discouraged many people. That outlook made the events of July 2026 especially heartbreaking. Brain cancer brought challenges that affected not only her health but also her independence. Multiple procedures and treatment complications gradually limited her ability to perform, making the painful decision to step away from the farewell tour unavoidable. For musicians, saying goodbye to audiences is rarely easy. Doing so because of circumstances beyond their control carries an even greater emotional weight. Jennifer had spent much of her adult life expressing herself through performance. Suddenly, that familiar connection with audiences became impossible. It was an ending nobody had imagined. Yet her story was never simply about the final weeks. Long before those difficult days, Jennifer Finch had become one of the defining personalities of L7. Joining the band in 1987, she helped shape an unmistakable sound that blended punk energy with grunge attitude while challenging expectations placed upon women in rock music. She did far more than provide bass lines. She sang. She wrote. She contributed ideas that strengthened the band's identity. Albums such as Smell the Magic, Bricks Are Heavy, and Hungry for Stink remain important recordings because they captured raw honesty without sacrificing musicianship. Jennifer's playing gave those records an unmistakable drive, while her songwriting helped transform personal experiences into songs that connected with listeners who often felt overlooked elsewhere. Tracks including Everglade, Right On, Through, Shirley, and One More Thing carried emotional depth beneath their energetic sound. Rather than presenting polished perfection, they reflected frustration, hope, resilience, and independence. That honesty became Jennifer's trademark. She never appeared interested in fitting neatly into somebody else's expectations. Instead, she helped redefine what authenticity looked like in alternative music. Looking back, it becomes clear that L7's influence extended well beyond record sales. The group inspired countless musicians to believe there was room for bold, uncompromising voices in rock music. Jennifer played a central role in that legacy. Even after leaving the band in 1996, she continued exploring new creative directions rather than repeating familiar successes. Some artists become trapped by their greatest achievements. Jennifer seemed determined not to be one of them. She fronted OtherStarPeople, releasing an album through A&MO Interscope in 1999, before launching another punk project, The Shocker, in 2002. Commercial success was never the only measure that interested her. Creative freedom mattered just as much. That willingness to keep evolving also reflected her personality away from the spotlight. Photography had entered Jennifer's life long before many people knew her as a musician. Amazingly, she began documenting Los Angeles' underground punk community at just 13 years old. While others were simply attending performances, Jennifer was preserving moments that would later become valuable pieces of music history. Her photographs captured young bands before global recognition arrived. Future stars appeared not as celebrities but as ambitious performers finding their place in local venues. Years later, that remarkable collection became known as 14 and Shooting. The exhibition eventually reached the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, introducing audiences to a different side of Jennifer's creativity. The camera revealed another important aspect of her character. She noticed people. She paid attention. She understood that today's unknown musician could become tomorrow's legend. That perspective perhaps explains why relationships remained so important throughout her life. Although Jennifer generally kept her private life away from constant public discussion, several well-known relationships inevitably attracted attention. During the early 1990s, she dated Dave Grohl, then widely recognized as Nirvana's drummer before later leading Foo Fighters. Both were navigating an exciting but demanding period within alternative rock, where careers could transform almost overnight. The relationship represented two musicians experiencing extraordinary professional momentum while trying to maintain ordinary human connections. Later, Jennifer also dated Billy Corgan, the frontman of the Smashing Pumpkins. Again, headlines often focused on celebrity rather than compatibility. Yet beneath the public curiosity were simply two creative people attempting to balance demanding careers with personal happiness. Like many relationships involving touring musicians, maintaining stability was never straightforward. Eventually, Jennifer found another chapter of love when she married actor, musician, and race car driver Chris Pedersen in 2000. Marriage offered hopes shared by countless couples, a future built on companionship, understanding, and mutual support. However, not every relationship follows the path originally imagined. The couple divorced in 2007, quietly bringing that chapter to a close. Rather than allowing personal disappointment to define her public identity, Jennifer continued focusing on creativity, friendships, and the work she valued most. That ability to move forward became one of the quiet strengths running throughout her life. Behind Jennifer Finch's confident stage presence was a story that began with questions of identity long before music entered the picture. She was born Jennifer Precious Finch on the 5th of August, 1966 in Los Angeles, California, to an unmarried mother at a Salvation Army home. Before she was old enough to understand those circumstances, her life had already taken an unexpected turn. In 1967, she was adopted by Robert Edward Finch, an aeronautics engineer, and Sandra Jacobson, who gave her a new beginning and a family name she would later make famous in the world of rock music. Even so, childhood was not entirely settled. When her adoptive parents divorced in 1974, Jennifer was raised primarily by her father after he was awarded custody. Every family experiences changed differently, and for Jennifer, those early years likely shaped the independence that would later define both her personality and her career. She grew up understanding that stability is something people build rather than something automatically guaranteed. That determination became increasingly visible as she entered her teenage years. While many children her age were still discovering hobbies, Jennifer had already found a way to express herself creatively through photography. At just 13 years old, she began documenting Los Angeles' underground punk scene, carrying a camera into clubs and local venues where future stars were still unknown to the wider public. Those photographs eventually became far more than personal memories. They preserved an era before fame transformed the people standing on those small stages. Her collection, 14 and Shooting, included early images of groups such as Red Hot Chili Peppers and Bad Religion, offering a rare glimpse into a music scene that would later influence generations of performers. Years afterwards, the collection was displayed at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, confirming that Jennifer's creative eye was just as significant as her musicianship. Photography and music complemented each other in an interesting way. One allowed her to observe quietly behind the lens, while the other encouraged her to stand confidently in front of audiences. Together, they revealed someone who appreciated both the excitement of performance and the importance of preserving genuine moments before they disappeared. That authenticity became central to everything Jennifer created. Whether writing songs, performing live, or capturing photographs, she rarely appeared interested in following trends simply because they were popular. Instead, she trusted her instincts. That approach sometimes made the journey more challenging, but it also earned lasting respect from fellow musicians and dedicated listeners. Her songwriting reflected the same honesty. Rather than relying on simple messages, Jennifer helped create songs that explored frustration, resilience, independence, and self-belief. Many listeners found comfort in music that acknowledged life's complications instead of pretending every problem had an easy solution. Perhaps that explains why L7's work continues to resonate long after its original release. The songs reflected real emotions, allowing different generations to discover something meaningful within them. Jennifer's influence also extended beyond records and concerts. Younger musicians frequently pointed to L7 as proof that originality mattered more than fitting established expectations. The band's success demonstrated that powerful performances, thoughtful songwriting, and unwavering confidence could leave a lasting impression without compromising artistic identity. As alternative rock evolved, Jennifer's contributions became easier to appreciate. Her bass playing provided a solid foundation, but her impact reached much further. She helped shape the band's voice, encouraged creative risks, and demonstrated that collaboration often produces stronger results than individual ambition alone. The friendships she built throughout the music community reflected that spirit. Even when personal relationships changed or bands followed different directions, Jennifer remained respected for her commitment to creativity rather than personal recognition. Colleagues frequently described her as generous with advice, supportive of emerging artists, and deeply connected to the underground music culture that had first inspired her. Those qualities became especially meaningful following the announcement of her final illness. After her diagnosis with an aggressive form of brain cancer in early July 2026, messages of support arrived from across the music world. Fellow performers, photographers, and admirers recognized not only the artist they had watched on stage but also the person who had encouraged others behind the scenes. The news also reminded many people how quickly circumstances can change. Only a short time earlier, Jennifer had been preparing to join L7's farewell tour, looking ahead to celebrating decades of shared memories with audiences. Instead, health complications, multiple brain surgeries, and the physical effects of treatment made continuing impossible. It was a deeply emotional turn for someone whose career had always been built around connecting directly with people through live performance. Even during those final weeks, however, Jennifer's story was never reduced to illness alone. When people reflected on her life, they spoke first about courage, creativity, and generosity rather than the condition she faced. That distinction matters because legacies are shaped far more by how someone lives than by the circumstances surrounding their passing. Jennifer Finch leaves behind an influence that reaches across several creative worlds. As a bassist, she helped define one of alternative rock's most respected bands. As a songwriter, she contributed music that continues to inspire listeners. As a photographer, she preserved an important chapter of Los Angeles music history that might otherwise have been lost. And as a creative individual, she showed that authenticity often has a longer-lasting impact than chasing popularity. Her personal journey also serves as a reminder that public success rarely tells the whole story. Behind the albums, concerts, and photographs was a woman who experienced family change, searched for lasting relationships, overcame serious health challenges, embraced new artistic opportunities, and continued creating even when life became uncertain. That balance between strength and vulnerability is perhaps why Jennifer's story continues to resonate. She never claimed to have all the answers. She simply continued creating with honesty. Future generations discovering L7 for the first time may initially be drawn to the band's powerful sound. But as they learn more about Jennifer Finch, they will likely discover something even more meaningful, a creative spirit who believed that art should reflect real life, real emotions, and genuine experiences. In the end, her greatest legacy is not measured only by albums sold or concerts performed. It lives on through musicians she inspired, photographers who followed her example, friends who valued her kindness, and listeners who found pieces of their own lives reflected in her work. Long after the final performance has ended, Jennifer Finch's voice, creativity, and fearless authenticity remain part of the enduring story of rock music.